Hello, boys and girls. Welcome to my dining room and welcome to our first science lesson that we're going to do using the computer. So I hope this works and I hope you can understand what I'm trying to teach you here today. Mrs. Roy and Mrs. Wagner and myself have worked together to bring you a little science experiment. And we're going to be working with some cups and some dirt and some carrots. Now these aren't the same carrots that I usually buy. These are a little bit smaller and thinner, and they have these greens still coming out of the top. And mine don't usually look like this, but these are carrots, and these are probably, these are what they look like on the farm before they get to the grocery store and get put in those bags that we usually buy. So before we get to the carrots and the dirt, I want to talk to you about living things. Part of our science that we need to study this year in kindergarten is to talk about living things. Like we have people and animals and plants, birds, all kinds of bugs, all kinds of things that are alive. Now, a book is not alive. A car is not alive. But all the other things that I talked about, people and animals and plants and trees, they are alive. So two important things I want you to know about living creatures. First of all, there is a pattern that all living creatures follow, kind of like the Lion King. When in the Lion King, Mufasa is talking about the circle of life, well, that's basically what I'm talking about, but it's called the life cycle. And there are steps to this life cycle that every single living creature goes through. So if you start at the top, the circle goes around. So at the top, the living creature is born. Okay, so they're born and they're a tiny little baby. And then when they get a little bit further around the circle, they're a little child growing into a young teenager. And then they're fully grown, they're an adult. And then they reproduce, which means they have babies. So you're born, you grow, you become an adult, you have babies, you raise your babies, they get to be grown up, and then you start to get a little bit older, and you don't have babies anymore. And then when you get to the very top, like at the top of the circle again, at the end of the life cycle, like plants we know about, and flowers in the summer, they start to droop a little bit and they don't look so strong anymore and the plants die. Well, that is the top. That is the completion of the life cycle, is that they're born, they grow, adulthood, babies, and then you start to grow old, and think of our summer flowers. They die when it gets too cold out. So that's the life cycle. The other thing I want you to know about with living things is that we all need a list of things that are going to make us strong and healthy. Every living creature needs water. We would be very, very thirsty. Now, I'm not saying we can't have maybe a cup of hot tea, or if your mom or dad once in a while lets you have a little sip of soda, that's really made out of water. So I'm not talking about just water, but we need liquid, which is usually water-based. We need it in our bodies. We need the sun. Plants are not going to grow if they don't get any sunlight. People are not going to be very happy if they don't get sunlight. We need nutrients. We need good food to make our bodies grow strong and to keep us healthy. And plants get their nutrients through the soil and all the good stuff that's down in that soil. So we need water, sunlight, nutrients, food. We need some kind of shelter of some sort to protect us. You wouldn't do so well tonight if your mom and dad said, go sleep in the backyard. It's going to be a little cold, so take your jacket with you. I don't think you would like that so much, and it might even make you very sick. So we need some kind of shelter as well. So and then air. Animals, plants, people, we need air to breathe. So those are the two things I wanted you to know about. The list of stuff we need to be healthy and the circle of life, we'll call it the life cycle. So back to our carrots here. What we're going to do is we're going to chop off the tops of these carrots, the green part. So I'm going to leave about 1.5 inches on each piece. And I'm going to cut, I don't know if my scissors will go through this, I'm going to try, about 1.5 inches, oh good, on each of these. So that's, we're not going to worry about that part. We're going to use this part right here. Now I did forget to get one thing here. So let me go get a little spoon to dig with and a little bit of water, and I'll be right back. All right, so I'm going to take my little, I got a butter knife instead. I'm going to take a little hole, I'm going to stick it down in there so that just a little bit of the orange sticks out, but most of it is covered in the dirt. So once it's planted, get these out of the way, I'm going to try to give it a little bit of water because that's what the plants need. And when I shut the video off, I'm going to put these upstairs in the window. I can't have them downstairs because we have our dog Zoe, and she would really be wondering what all these things were about, and I don't trust that I would have them for very long. So these are our little experiment. We're going to see what happens with these live plants, these live carrots. So big thank you to Mrs. Roy for helping us get set with our carrots. And for Mrs. Wagner too, for getting our plans together and deciding how we can talk about the life cycle with you guys. Now, the last thing I want to mention is that every scientist is extremely careful about what they do, and they don't want to make any mistakes. Or if they make mistakes, they want to know that they made a mistake and learn from it. So what they do is they write everything down. They are very careful to watch what they're doing, to pay attention to little changes that might happen, to write down what they used for ingredients, and to record or write down everything that happens. So part of your homework, you have homework now for our carrot science experiment, is to make a recording sheet. And I just took a plain piece of white paper and I folded it in half and then fold it in half again. And you end up with 4 boxes. Now you can't see my boxes all that well, so what I did is I took my crayon and I made them, I used a dark blue color, and I made them so you can see them. Now, you can pause the video here. Maybe mom or dad will stop the video so that you can make your little paper here. I put my name up in a dark crayon because I want to be able to see your name. I put day 1, which is today. Day 2 is going to be the second day we look at our carrots. We're not going to look at them tomorrow, but it will be the second day, day 2, that we look at the carrots. Day 3 will be the 3rd time we look, and day 4 will be the 4th time. I want you to keep this paper because this is your science homework paper. So maybe mom or dad can get you a special place to put all your school stuff, or maybe a folder or something, but hold on to this paper because when it's all done, after day 4, I'm going to ask mom and dad to take a picture of it and email it to me, or go through Google Classroom. I think we're going to go through Google Classroom, and you're going to have to pass in your paper so I know that you've been doing this. So if you need to, pause the video and then you can start it back up. So to document or to write down, the scientists say document, record. I have my crayons here, and I'm just going to, on day 1, I'm going to try to make a little cup. Easy peasy. I'm not going to get too nervous about it that it's perfect. Doesn't have to be perfect. And I'm going to my brown is missing because I made you that April Fool's Day joke and I used my brown crayon and I didn't put it back where it belongs. So I'll just use black. I'll use black for the dirt. Okay, pretty easy. There's my cup. And that black stuff on the bottom is the dirt. And then I'm going to take my orange and make a little hill for the bit of the carrot that's sticking out. And then on the top, remember I cut the greens off. There's a little bit of green, but not a ton, and it's just sticking up over the top of the cup. If you can see, just barely sticking out. So this is what my day one will look like. So if you do the same thing, we're going to say we had a successful first science lesson. Along with this link for the science lesson, you'll also see a link to be read a book. It's a link where someone is going to read a book to you. It's not me, but the book is called The Carrot Seed, and it's a book that's been around for a very long time. It's kind of a classic in children's literature, and it's all about this little boy who plants a carrot seed, and he's not quite sure it's going to come up. People around him aren't quite sure it's going to come up, and come up means it's going to grow up through the ground, come up and grow into a nice carrot plant, and when it's all done growing, there'll be a carrot on the bottom. He kind of won't give up, but people all around him are saying, no, it's not going to grow. So we thought that might be a nice fun book for you to read. So that link is also on Google Classroom. So the takeaways from today: there's a life cycle. You're born, you grow, you're an adult, you have babies, you grow old, and I want you to think of those summer plants. When it starts getting cold and the summer is over, they die and there's no keeping them for next year. And the items that every living creature needs: air, water, sun, good food or nutrients, and some kind of shelter, some kind of home to keep you safe. So that's it for today for science. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you could understand what I was trying to teach you, and there'll be more to come. Thanks now. Bye-bye, everybody. Thank you for joining me.